My name's Jennifer Webb, and I am very happy to be the Director of Enrollment Management and Financial Aid here at Flint Hill. And I'm also thrilled that all of you are here joining us today. I see some familiar faces. Some of you joined us for the Parent to Parent event last night, and it's great to see you again here today. In terms of our event today, it's going to be a little different than the one last night for those of you that were here. We're going to hear about about Flint Hill generally from our headmaster, John Thomas. And then we will hear about our approach to middle school here at Flint Hill from our division director, Brian Lamont. And we have some current parents, some current middle school parents here that are going to tell you about their experiences, answer your questions. And then we have some current middle school students that will be joining us to do the same. And then we will close the event with me telling you about the next steps in learning more or applying here to Flint Hill. So in terms of the format today in this virtual meeting, of course, we all know that being muted tends to be the best sound quality as different people are speaking. With that said, we definitely want you to engage. We're so happy you're here. We want to hear what's on your mind. We want to hear your comments. We want to hear your questions. So please don't be shy about using the chat feature at the bottom right hand of your screen whenever you have anything to say or ask. And we have Jordy Izzard here, who is the upper school admission officer. And she works closely with Justin Fitzgerald, who is also one of our middle school admission officers. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. And I am delighted to turn it over to our headmaster, John Thomas.
Well, hey, everybody. Thanks, Jennifer. And you hear a title like Headmaster John Thomas. You may, what the heck is a headmaster? I'll just tell you a quick story that always keeps it in perspective for me, is that a lot of events, I try to greet people at the front door, and sometimes I'm at the door at the end of an event saying goodbye. And I'd been at an event and there was a woman, turned out to be the aunt of a couple of girls, and they were leaving, and I talked to them for a minute, and they were overheard walking down the sidewalk where the aunt asked the girl, said, "Oh, who was that nice man who said goodbye to us at the door?" I said, "Oh, that's Mr. Thomas. He's our school's mascot." So, you take on different roles in whatever we do. I will tell you, we do have a mascot. It's the Husky. And, you're going to see some of that even in a slideshow that I want to share with you quickly. We take the Iditarod dog sled race in Alaska as a metaphor for our entire educational journey. The fact that it sometimes must be the most beautiful thing in the world being in the tundra and, just breathtaking. In other minutes, it's probably downright scary. And you're wondering, what in the world have we done? But the beauty is, if you're part of the dog sled, you're part of a team. And so we talk all the time with our kids that we're all pulling this proverbial sled together. We're all part of the team. Nobody's more important than anybody else. But we take the idea of being team members and being together very, very seriously. Now, I will tell you, God, we know that as parents, you're here, trying to figure out the educational piece. I'm a parent myself. My wife and I raised 3 boys, and we had kind of a quiet philosophy in that process. One, give them unconditional love at all times, and the other was get them educated, because you've got to have them ready with the skill set and the drive and everything else for whatever their future is going to be. It isn't going to be maybe the future we thought they were going to have, but it's their future. Well, I know that's what you're looking at right now and thinking about. And we live in an area where there are lots of choices. So we're thrilled that you're here and trying to get to know Flint Hill better, because I think we are a phenomenal school. And I think you're going to meet incredible people, kids, parents. You're going to meet Brian. This is a school that really takes this age group very seriously, but also knows its responsibilities and its purpose and behind all that. So I do have a brief slideshow I'd love to share with you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to close my camera so that you really do focus on the slideshow. And then I'm going to kind of walk us through that. And I'm hoping that my tech skills continue to work with me, that I can get this up and ready to go. Jennifer, how am I doing?
Yep, it looks great. It's all ready.
Okay, good. Well, the whole idea, as I said, since we're Huskies, that's the real mascot. We're kind of blazing our trail as we go. That becomes critically important. So as we look ahead and as you get to know us today, I hope you'll find that everything we do is very intentional, deliberate, strategic, but also very personal. and very meaningful, that we take seriously this opportunity, we hope, to work with your children, to help get them educated. But clearly it is also to play for the long game. We're not just playing to have them have just a great experience in the middle school and then go on to upper school and then off to great colleges and universities. We're also playing for what kind of a person are they going to be at 35 and 40? What kind of skill set do they have? What core values are there with them? What kind of a vision do they have for what they're going to do? And to do that, we think you have to be very entrepreneurial. You have to be very relevant and dynamic. You have to constantly go after the skill set. How do we help kids communicate? How do we help them learn about creativity or not lose their creativity? How do we make sure that they really are ready to collaborate with their classmates and with the teachers? And those teachers are people who they're going to look at as true mentors. Now, we have some through lines at Flint Hill, the relationships that we build, the technology that we work with, all of it. But I will tell you, the one that really sticks with me is our core values. We have 5 core values. They evolved out of 4 values we'd always talked about for years: honesty, respect, responsibility, and compassion. But then we realized a few years ago in a process we were doing that everything we do here at school is action oriented. We want the kids to own their learning. We want them to be active participants in it. And yet our core values were almost like these static words. So we evolved them into 5 core values that we think are action oriented, that really get to the heart of who we are and what we do. And so let me just quickly walk you through those. Respect and value all equally. Well, in today's world, that is critically important. We have over 115 nationalities in our school family. We have people of different races, different religions. We have kids who learn differently. It is an incredibly exciting part of our program. And yet to make that work, people need to realize you really do need to respect and value all equally, because that helps determine who we are and how we handle that, and how do we make certain that anybody who walks in the front doors of our school really feel valued, respected, honored, whatever, and that we are right there to work with them. Other one is lead and support with compassion. That sense of having empathy, that sense of caring about others, that becomes critically important. That's, to me, one of the great benefits of growing up, because it is so easy to be a school that focuses on pressure, how much work we give people, make them feel like they're really putting into it. This is a school that I take pride in saying we are not a pressure cooker, that these kids work awfully hard in that middle school. They're learning an awful lot. They're also engaged in the arts and all kinds of things. But at the same time, there is no sense of pressure. Kids are going to greet you at the front door. They're going to smile through a mask with their eyes, but they're going to make you feel welcomed. The idea of acting with integrity. This came from honesty, obviously. And that used to be one of the hallmarks in our family, was the boys just knew they had to be honest with us. And the acting with integrity means you do set it out there. And we've worked on this even with our parents, because I will tell you, the 3 things that I think ultimately that have gotten us through the pandemic, this COVID period, have been communicate, communicate, communicate. That being open and honest, that being transparent in what we're doing, decisions we're making or whatever, that has built a level of trust that I think is critically important. But all of that comes from that acting with integrity. The idea of imagining what's possible, trying to look down the road, what could happen, what could we do, what should be our next step. And I will tell you, the idea of imagining what's possible has us constantly fighting against any sense of a status quo. We are always looking at how do we get better. It's like in the high jump. How do you keep raising the bar on yourself, but do it in a way that you don't feel the pressure of that, but you know that this is exciting because you're going to do your personal best. It's because of the imagining what's possible that led to us developing in the relationship with Apple Corporation, where we're the Apple Site School. And we've been a one-to-one program, meaning every child has their own device, for over a decade now. And any public or private school who contacts Apple in Virginia and wants to talk to them about technology, they encourage them to come visit us. So we used to, before COVID, we would have regular visitors doing this. That would led us to realign our divisions a couple of years ago and open the Peterson Middle School, which is now the home for our middle school. And I will tell you, the one advantage of wearing a mask all the time is the kids can't see my jaw drop open every time I walk in that building, because it is an absolutely incredible facility. And then the Blazing the Trail, that's what we're going to try and do with you and for your children. The idea is that we are truly a student-centered school, but it all comes down to, how do we blaze that trail? How do we find the things that are really going to be exciting for kids? How do we get them involved, whether it's in the arts and doing that? And that obviously starts early on, but we have a phenomenal arts program in the middle school that will lead right into the upper school, which is literally 50 steps away across the driveway into that upper school building. Our competitive athletics program, where, you know, by the time they're in upper school and everything, about 20 kids every year do head off to play college sports when they leave us. But those are scholar athletes. They are taking this strong academic program and then heading off into that. We have kids that are deeply involved in Latin. You know, we have a classics department. We had to create an innovation department because there were so many things people wanted to work on and do. And one of them is robotics. And I will tell you, I can't wait for this year, because hopefully we're going to be able to do our student unmanned aerial program. You know, some of that begins back in middle school with the Makers program and in their innovation lab and things that they've done. It leads into the upper school. But I will tell you, the last time we were in that student unmanned aerial program, 75 schools were invited to be in it. It was an international program. I will tell you that 71 of them were the engineering departments of colleges and universities. We were one of only 4 high schools that were invited. They had to build a drone. They had to go put it up 750 feet. It had to fly over 5 miles. It had to avoid obstacles, had to have a hovercraft that they had underneath of it that they had to drop to earth, and that had to go 100 yards to a target. And you had to do all of whatever you had to do in 30 minutes. And at the end of the competition, a university out of Quebec won it. And for the second year in a row, Flint Hill came in second. Behind us on the list of American schools were Stanford University, UCLA, Harvard, Cornell, the U.S. Naval Academy, Embry-Riddle. I will tell you what was really exciting. The first year we came in second. The third place school happened to be Virginia Tech. We all took pride in 2 Virginia schools being in the top 3 in the world. But what I loved was 3 of the engineering students on the Virginia Tech team were Flint Hill graduates who were trying to knock off their high school. The idea is those values underscore everything we do. And the idea is to start thinking about where your children's trail could begin. There's a vision we have for the students that I think many of us as adults have also adopted that really has an impact on this. And it's simply the idea of take meaningful risks, be yourself, and make a difference. And so we encourage the kids to try different courses, try a sport, you know, get involved in robotics or innovation, or be on the Kurtaman team, or whatever it may be. Push yourself out there, because the faculty and your classmates are there to cheer you on. They're going to support you in this adventure. They're going to help you learn about your passions, because ultimately that's who you are, and that's that being yourself. But down the road, it's to make a difference, to be a good person, to have those values, to make friends, to make sure that you know you can go to your teachers when you have a need for help or whatever. All of that is just ingrained into our program. Now, you're going to get a chance to get to know the program in much more detail in the next few minutes. I'm going to turn it over to Brian Lamont, and I've had the privilege of knowing Brian for the 17 years I've been here. He has served in a variety of great roles, but I will tell you, he's probably one of the finest division directors, clearly in a middle school, that I've ever had the honor to work with. So, Mr. Lamont, I am going to flip the ball over to you and let you go from there.
Thanks, John. Actually, I think people would appreciate hearing more from you about me. I think that would be a great way to spend the next few minutes of our program.
I will come back on later if you would like me to do that.
Thank you. I'm sorry you all needed to hear that. So welcome. I'm Brian Lamont. As John mentioned, we've both been here for a long time. And, you know, one of the things I appreciate having been at having Flint Hill be my home for just over 20 years in a lot of capacities, as a teacher, as a coach, as a parent. A lot of my career spent in our upper school and in our middle school. I've gotten to kind of appreciate and see the school through a lot of different lenses, which I think has informed the really meaningful and intentional work we do here in middle school. So thinking about, the metaphor of Iditarod and Huskies, this is the part of the journey that's particularly messy, a lot of highs and lows, a little smelly sometimes, but it's a really, incredibly important period of growth and of life, and they need a lot from both parents and the school at these ages. So I'm going to present a little bit about the middle school program, turn off my camera. And I think we are live. So saying part of what during this unique period of life, that there is arguably, more growth happens during these couple of years than at any other period of life. Maybe 0 to 2 rivals it. But this is such an intense period of growth, physically, brain development, and what they need and how they need it is where our focus is. And some of our job, as John mentioned, as a as a unit JK through 12 school, that we have a really intentional responsibility at each level to prepare students for the next steps on their journey, and thinking about how our middle school program feeds into our upper school program. It's something we do take a close and careful look at, and are always kind of refining things. Our students are well prepared to feed into our upper school program in terms of their academic skills, how the courses flow in each strand. We kind of start a high school model of departmental classes in middle school, and that feeds. We do have department chairs who oversee middle school and upper school to ensure that bridge makes sense and is a smooth one. A lot of what we do is helping students understand themselves as learners, and that arguably is one of the key skills we want them to come out of our program with. As John touched on, the kind of the benefits of moving through our program at different levels is that investment and embodiment of school culture and our core values. As an Apple Distinguished School for the past 10 plus years, we leverage technology for learning, and our students are well prepared for upper school in terms of their use of our Apple devices, our other platforms in terms of Google Classroom and our Husky Hub, and all of those digital platforms, and how they're used during classes. As John touched on, the focus on curiosity and innovative thinking, that's a big part of our school. And again, this is a really rich period of human development for us to be focusing on that. And as parents, sort of being involved at the middle school level, and getting connected to other parents, our school-wide events, and all those aspects really feed well into our upper school program as kids age and move forward. But focusing on this level, those developmental needs are really unique to this age group. That preparing students for an exacting high school program doesn't mean we treat them as if they're high school students, because they aren't. Humans who are 12, 13, and 14 years old need things in different ways. And our focus is kind of in 3 areas: relationships, are how we teach, and what we teach. So certainly at all periods of life, it's important to be around people who we feel like know us, accept us, and care about us. There is no other period of life where this is more dramatically important. It is essential that our middle school age kids are surrounded by a team of adults who know them, accept them, and care about them. And that's something that's kind of our baseline with our work with our faculty and staff in terms of who we hire and what we expect on a daily basis. How we teach, we need our adults to be modeling that innovative thinking. And we're just a place that continues to refine what we're doing and how we're doing it all the time, because we have to keep getting better. And some of that's involved in what we teach and what our program looks like as well. So from an academic standpoint, but also, and perhaps more so, the focus on personal and social skills, as well as the DEI work that is essential to being a human who's contributing to the world and community in positive ways. In terms of impactful relationships, some of that is facilitated by our size, and certainly compared with, sort of especially the public schools in our area, what we're able to do with students in a program of 90 to 100 per grade is pretty special, with small teacher-student ratios, small class sizes. And while 18 to 20 would be a maximum, we have some classes that are much less than that, depending on, students have more choice in their scheduling, which means, from electives on down might have smaller classes as well, which gives us an opportunity to really focus on each student in the room rather than treating them as sort of one lump group. Maybe the most essential part of our program and where the relationships and the helping students develop a sense of belonging and readiness for academic learning starts in advisory every morning. So all of our students are trained in, all of our advisors, are trained in developmental designs. And we start each day with a 20-minute advisory period, which they're circled up as seen in this picture. And we start each day with a greeting, learning how to greet each other, sharing opportunities to practice some of these social skills in a safe way, and digging into some discussion topics or activities and a game. So, all of which is to facilitate creating an inclusive community and helping students build relationships, develop social skills, and engage with and be ready for their academic learning. In the classrooms, our focus is on teaching the way students learn. And so we know our lessons have to be dynamic and engaging and leveraging technology where it makes sense. We're currently a 2-to-1 environment, with each student having an iPad and a MacBook. This is something we've been piloting and exploring, and moving forward next year we'll be making a determination of one device that'll be our focus. And again, our use of technology needs to have a purpose. So there are many times in which the devices are closed and students are discussing or doing something on paper, and other times in which the nature of the activity and learning warrants using tech. In terms of the options and classes that kids take, we do, as I said, we follow sort of more of a high school model. So we do start to offer leveled courses. So all of our students have, do take kind of a core liberal arts approach of everyone takes a science, a history, a math, a language, a fine art. And we have some levels, and they have some choices in terms of the language. We offer 3 different languages, French, Spanish, and Latin. They have choice of fine arts in terms of visual arts, theater, or music. We have 4 different music groups. We also want this to be a place where students can explore their interests and figure out what they're interested in and what they're good at. And they can elect to take a wider range of courses in innovation. We offer creative writing, math counts, Kurtaman, robotics, makers, and we kind of mix and match those, so students have an opportunity to do that. We offer some of those as part-time, because we really want to make it possible for students to take as many of these as they want to. So someone could take one elective and do that for their 2 years of middle school, or they could take as many as 8 in their 2 years. Again, along with understanding themselves as learners, we do a lot of focus on students coming into 7th grade anywhere really is some uptick of kind of academic skills, managing academic load. And so there is a little more homework. We don't want it to be a lot, but we do want students to kind of develop those executive functioning skills and learn how to manage their time, learn what study strategies work for them. So the amount of homework needs to be on the lower end, so they do have the opportunity to kind of be thinking through that level while also getting used to, kind of dialing things up in terms of their academic work as they flow into upper school. We do have an open grade book in middle and upper school, which allows students and parents to kind of keep track of what's in the grade book. And again, this is more so as a communication tool. And allows parents to kind of take that trust but verify approach in terms of how are things going in class, knowing that you can check and see that snapshot in time at any point. While I'll also say for the first time of probably 100 is that grades are not the focus at the middle school level. They just aren't. They are a part of our program and an important part in keeping things in perspective, but they're not the main focal point. The curriculum involves, as I said, a wider range also of non-academic pieces, but are incredibly important from wellness to service. We do have an outdoor education component, which we've had to figure out differently these past couple of years. And our 8th graders do a capstone presentation, which if you think, I said TEDx-like because we see a wide range of skill level in these presentations as we do, throughout our middle school. So they're all in different places, but that's kind of the thought is that it's they're developing, they're presenting on a topic that is meaningful to them. And sometimes it's about their own personal journey. Sometimes it's highlighting something they think people should know. But within that is working on both public speaking and presentation skills, which are distinct skills. And athletics is a part of our middle school program, which we're really grateful to have back this year. So last year, like with most places, we didn't have our regular athletic program. So our students do participate in interscholastic athletics every season, and it is built into our academic day. So practices go until 3:30, and again, the focus is not on winning national championships, partly because we don't really have middle school national championships, but some of it is learning sport-specific skills that do feed into our upper school program. A lot of it's about participating and being part of a team. And the feedback we get, and I got within my own family, where I have some non-athletes and athletes, is that with our level teams, it's a really positive experience for our kids, whether athletics is a strength of theirs or not. And something we found this year in particular is the impact on social piece. So it's also an incredibly important opportunity for students to kind of mix with different grade levels and different students around a common interest and activity. So it really serves the mission and goals of our middle school in many ways. And with that, I will bring it back here live. That's sort of a quick overview of our middle school program. And now you have the opportunity to get kind of a different lens. I'm a little biased in my presentation. I'm kind of like Flint Hill and kind of like being here and think our middle schools is kind of a big deal. But you'll be hearing from some unpaid volunteers, and really I have no idea what they're going to say. I'm trusting they'll make me proud and make us proud, but we have, we're going to start with a few parents. As Jennifer mentioned, I know we had a parent-to-parent program last night, and that's kind of, we have Leslie Rhodes, Karen Landwehr, and Liz Luca are all here. So I'm going to have us go one at a time, and you can kind of take it whatever direction you want, making sure you don't make it weird or embarrass us. You can embarrass your own child. That's part of what parents are supposed to do at this level. But I'll give a few possible topics, and then you can take it however you want to. But maybe how long you and your child have been at Flint Hill, maybe what brought you here and what keeps you here, and any other aspects of the parent experience that you think would be helpful to someone who's looking at Flint Hill as a potential option for next year. So do we have a hero who wants to get us started? Leslie?
I think you're on mute.
If you want it, yeah. I think what Leslie said is it's a great middle school, and you would be wise to send your kid here as soon as possible.
I
think
heard the same
paraphrased,
thing.
but that was a.
All right.
Karen, do you want to start?
Sure. So Leslie, at the very bottom, there's a set of controls. I don't know if you can see that. But... Okay.
Got it.
Anyway, I'll go ahead. Oh, there he is. Okay.
Do you want me to start?
Sure.
Okay. I have a 13-year-old boy, and the school has been spectacular. It has really helped my son to blossom in all of the aspects that Mr. Lamont were speaking on. I came to Flint Hill. I have a daughter that's 2 years removed. She started of course, in the upper school in 9th grade, and she's now at Christopher Newport University. And as far as my son, he started in the 5th grade at the lower school, and we have been extremely pleased with how Flint Hill has welcomed him, has kept him safe. I feel really good about, putting him on the bus in the mornings and him, returning in the evenings. And he has become a very good advocate for himself academically. And I mean, I have nothing but good things to say about Flint Hill. I think that's it, unless someone wants to ask me an additional question.
We will get, and we may. So I just added in the chat, we will have a few minutes for questions of our parent panelists that you can add it into the chat. So we'll first hear from the three who are here. Karen, do you want to go next?
Sure. So I think Flint Hill has been really wonderful for both of my boys, because I have a technology, percussion, Latin student who likes to also play sports, and he's a 7th grader. And we also have a senior who's a scholar athlete who plays sports and goes to school. So I think, Flint Hill's been great for both of them. Our youngest joined in the lower school, and our senior actually joined in 8th grade. And I know one of the things parents who are coming in at the middle school level, the students are sometimes asking, what about my friends? and so I think that what's been really great for us is that our children have both maintained their other friendships, but have formed really strong bonds at Flint Hill. And so it's been a really good experience that way as well. Academically, my scholar athlete is going on to play, and he gave a huge compliment, I think, to Flint Hill the other day when he said he feels prepared to go to college. And one of the things that's really good about that is just the preparation that the school has done in allowing the kids to meet with their advisors, meet with their teachers. It's been a very big learning experience going through the middle school and getting them to that level. But then in high school, you really see that bloom.
Thanks, Karen.
Mhm.
Liz?
All right. Hi, my name's Liz Luca, and I have 4 children at the school. And my oldest is an 8th grader, and he joined Flint Hill in the 5th grade. And one of the things that we have loved most about the school has been the individual support he has gotten, and not just necessarily support, but how the learning styles are flexible to help him and how he learns best. He's really learned how to advocate for himself through the process. And I don't think it's a personality change. I just think it's an environment where he feels safe and comfortable to be able to advocate for himself, knows when to speak up. He's really learning some executive functioning skills that we needed some extra support on, which has been really wonderful for him. The middle school sports program has been something that we've loved. I think that has a really great way for bonding with friends and making new friends and just feeling part of a team. I think that's an awesome opportunity that he's had this year as well. And overall, we've just had a really great experience. I personally love the parent communication. It's not parent communication in that I'm getting involved all the time with my kids' learning environment. It's just I know what's going on and what's happening. And that was something that was missing for me at our other school when we were at before. So I know what's going on, but my son still advocates for himself. All that parent-teacher communication, except for the conferences, is through him. And those are just some of the things that we've really loved about Flint Hill.
Thank you. We have a few questions populating. I'm going to save the one about writing, handwriting, writing by hand for the student panelists. There's a question about how do parents feel about the integration of technology in the classroom, and if I'm reading this correctly, what that's like to support at home.
I'll start maybe. I think that it's been great. I think obviously that's where the world is heading. So my kids have really great technology skills and they are able to use it. It's in an appropriate manner, I think, that students these days would use in order to learn about the technology and how to apply it in school. I think it's a support tool. I don't think that it replaces any sort of learning. I've been very happy. I think Flint Hill is ahead of the technology curve, and access to technology they have is really great for them. It's an advantage that they're going to have later on.
I would second that.
Yeah, and I would just add that I do think that is can feel like a big transition point as a parent. I think especially as your kids have 2 devices. I do think that our teachers are assigning meaningful work, that if it's and some of that is done on computers and some of it is not. I think the challenge becomes, unless my kids are the only ones who it seems like they pretend they have 4 hours of homework that they have to do on devices, where I know the school is really only assigning 1. So I think part of it is kind of managing, and we have some recommendations for families in terms of here's how you can manage the tech environment and devices in your house from home, and here's here's some strategies for where your child can be doing homework so that you can have a good sense of when do they need the devices and when might they have the devices up, but they're on social media, they're doing 8 different things at the same time. I know that our student panelists today, none of them do any of that, but I'm talking about other students that are more in general. And there was a question about gender ratios that maybe Jennifer, that's one for the end. I will say, speaking for middle, in 8th grade, we do have more boys than girls, and 7th grade, I think, is a few more girls than boys. But I'm not looking at the actual data for middle, and I'm not sure on the upper.
Yeah, Brian, I'll just add that exactly what you said. There's a little bit more boys in eighth grade. There's more girls in seventh. From an enrollment management standpoint, every year that is something that we look at and we consider as we're admitting and enrolling students. We too do try to keep the gender as balanced as possible. Sometimes, demographics in the area are just different than perfectly balanced. When we get to upper school, the numbers are a little bit larger. The classes are about 140, 145 students in each grade, and naturally, with the larger classes, it is a lot more. It is closer to an equal balance.
There's also kind of a related question on the technology piece about social media, about what kids are using, and that's an ongoing and important challenge, and one that's ever changing. And so we do have actually have a few related articles going in the newsletter this week that are, because we're all of us are trying to keep up with what's out there and the best guidance for how to equip our kids. We do some of that focus here at school. This year we're piloting with a external group that has a lot of lessons. It's sort of quasi focus on digital citizenship, but it's more student to student. A lot of it's a kind of a vetted program that kind of features a lot of advice from high school students to middle school age. So we just went through our second lesson yesterday afternoon, but it is an ongoing challenge for all of us. And I'm usually I come back to how grateful I am that the social media was not around when I was an adolescent making bad decisions. So it is a tricky thing, certainly for both students and parents. I'll say a quick piece on course selection, and then we'll shift over to our student panel. In terms of selecting courses, so in terms of overall, I would say when you're enrolled, and all of you will be, I'll be in direct touch with you in the spring, and we'll talk about the options and what that process looks like. In general, all of our students get all the classes that they signed up for. So there end up being a few rare instances in which a combination of electives that a student wants to do can't work together. But in general, my goal every year is whatever people want to take, we're going to make happen. And it becomes more difficult at the upper school level when there's more kids, it's more complicated, and there's more kind of singleton specialized choices. In middle school, in my experience here, my 8th year here, we've been able to accommodate all of the requests. And the other part of that question, which isn't necessarily in there, but I know is something people are thinking, is what about honors level and those kind of things, and how do you do placements? Because there are places in which it's, we're going to tell you what the right level is, and that's what it's going to be. And other places where it's wide open choice. And for us, like everything else, it should be a relational conversation. And so I will reach out to everyone who's new and say, well, I've looked at teacher recs and transcript, and this is what, based on that, here's what I think is probably the best level, but let's talk about it. And if you think something different, and if you want to try. So our general approach here is that as kids are learning and growing and stretching themselves in different ways, and changing in terms of, last year I didn't work very hard, but this year I am ready to. So we also want there to be those opportunities for growth. So we will generally default to, if you want to try a higher level course, we're going to let you do it. Now we're going to be transparent about, here's where I think the challenges could be, and here's what I think you should do over the summer to kind of prep for that challenge, so you aren't just walking in blind and crossing your fingers and hoping it turns out well. But it is really a conversation, and that's what our course selection and placement guidance should be, and is, even going into our upper school. And yeah, you see one comment from Karen about that, about how that flows into the upper school. So I want to thank our Leslie, Karen, and Liz for sharing their experience, and for earning their bonus checks today. And we're gonna, which I'm sorry is zero, but it's still, we do greatly appreciate. I think it is an example of, when we have parents in these panels, I think we're a school that really benefits from word of mouth and the positive experience of our families. And so it's really important that people are willing and open to share, and welcome, hopefully, a new batch of Huskies. And as I'm going to prep our shift to the student panel, and then I'll answer that next question. So for students, we have Russ and Caroline and Kaylin who are here, and I'm going to ask you if you'd introduce yourself and what grade you're in, and I'll give you a couple things to think about, and you can again take it in whatever direction you want to, and I'll hope it turns out what I will trust it's gonna go great. Now, so maybe a piece about what your transition into Flint Hill was like, in terms of academic and social, and what you like about Flint Hill, or what you enjoy about coming to school each day, or what you wish you would have known before coming in. So and Caroline, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to first answer that quick question about music theater and chorus. So yes, we not only offer, so we do require every student takes a fine art class, and that can be music, which can be band, percussion, orchestra, or chorus. We do have theater, and we have visual art. So everyone has to take at least one of those classes, and we have some students who take two of them at the same time. So that's possible also. They can elect to double up on that. Some students double up on language. So yes, that is an important part, and is possible. And the percussion, a shameless plug for the percussion concert tonight, from Karen Landwehr. Yes, so that's the first one. We haven't had a concert in a couple of years, so we are really excited to have that important piece back. All right, so Caroline, do you want to get us started here?
Hi, I'm Caroline. This is my second year at Flint Hill. I'm an 8th grader, and I'd say that the transition to Flint Hill I was definitely nervous about it and scared to move schools because I had always been at the same school, but it's definitely a small community where everyone's friends. It's not like you have to either be friends with a certain group or the other. Everyone kind of just hangs out together, and I get to be friends with 7th graders, 8th graders. Everyone is a little bit more connected.
Russ? I think you're still muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right, sorry. Hi, I'm Russ. I'm in 8th grade. I came here in 7th grade. I was really nervous to come here at first because it was a long process. I shadowed for the lower school because that was before the middle school was finished being built. So I was a bit nervous on what it would be like because I hadn't been here yet. But it's an amazing building. It's easy to navigate around. There's plenty of places for you to hang out with your friends. There's fields. The turf is being redone right now. The reason I came to Flint Hill is because my sister, she told me about it, and my parents, and told me that it was amazing. I love the sound of it. And it's so much better than I imagined. One of my favorite things about it is that people care. People care. In other schools, other middle schools that I toured and stuff, and elementary schools, it'd be one big class clumped together, and it'd be really hard to find a time to talk to a teacher. But if you need help, you can get it, and it's That's amazing.
Thank you, Russ. Kaylin?
Hi, I'm Kaylin. I just started this year at Flint Hill. I was really nervous to come here because I had so many friends at my old school, but it's really easy to adapt to like all the new things that are here. Like the lunches are really good. Fridays is always the best. Can have like brownies and stuff. Um, I'd say that it's really easy to like work with your teachers. They're really like open-minded to what you need. Um, they communicate with you more than other schools. So if you're having a problem with like your homework, you can just go to them and they'll connect with you on it and help you. And if you need extra time, like this year, I know they have like if you have 2 tests in a day, then you can take off one of those tests because they know that it's hard for you to study for both of those.
Thanks. And question for, among the things that that you may have wondered before starting, and I think other students and parents wonder, especially coming out of 6th grade, no matter where you are, there, oftentimes it's a homeroom model. Oftentimes there's not much homework, and coming into a new place where you've got 6 or 7 classes and you're managing assignments and workload. So maybe a little bit about what your workload and academic transition has felt like, and then I'll follow up with one of the questions from the chat. Russ, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. My workload, I expected it to be larger from what I've heard, but it really depends on how much work you put into stuff. Because I've realized that a system that the teachers use is if you don't finish the work that is assigned in class, then it will be homework. And if they do, then they'll give you time, like in class, if you do stuff. So it really depends on the effort you put into things, on like the work you have to do later. And that's really cool. There's a extra class that you can take called Learning Center, where you can like meet one-on-one with a teacher who can like help you out and explain stuff to you like a second time. And it helps me a lot because I every now and then I need a little help too.
Thanks, Russ. Caroline?
Yeah, I think that there's definitely a more of an increase of work because I came from public school and there's more work, but there's definitely more guidance and there's more people who care. Like we have something called Flex and sometimes we have Lash, which is times where you can go and meet with your teachers. I take a study hall class, which I go and meet with my teachers. And for example, Spanish is something that comes really hard to me, but I'm always in Senior Morales class asking questions and getting more work done. So basically, it's like you build more of a work ethic because it's harder, but there's more people around you and your communities trying to help you succeed more.
Thank you. Kaylin, anything to add about your academic transition and workload?
Yeah, I think that it really depends on the day that you have because some classes don't have as much homework as others. Like history, you mostly do everything in your class, but like for math, you'll get stuff. But since you have your classes scattered, you have more time to do your homework. Because let's say I have like math Monday, Wednesday, Friday, then I have Monday to Wednesday to finish my work.
Yeah, and so just to piggyback on some of that, our goal is to incrementally increase the sort of academic training as we are preparing them for high school and beyond. And we also know that they can't do the work in terms of figuring out what works for them and what doesn't, and creativity and all that pieces if they're overloaded with work. So our goal is definitely not to make it a slog through work, but to have assignments that do have purpose and benefit. And we do have exams at the end of the year. We used to have them twice a year. We have we do have an exam in each course, which again, our focus at that point at the middle school level is on learning how to prepare for a kind of a longer term exam, study strategy, study skills, and the act of taking a bigger test. They aren't super long. They actually aren't much longer than our regular test during the year, but that is a part of kind of the academic training and experience that we do think benefits students. One of the questions from the parents was about the balance of using technology versus actually handwriting things. And, we have, and that, there are certainly different opinions about the role of handwriting in learning. And as a place that has 2 devices this year with a MacBook and an iPad. So students, do you want to comment on the kind of balance of actual handwriting versus typing stuff, Caroline?
So I think that it is a pretty good mix, and it depends on what class you're in. Like obviously in math, you're going to do a lot more paper and writing, but you also get an Apple Pen with your iPad, and you use the Apple Pen to write on what's like paper, but it's on your iPad. So your handwriting stays just as well, and like you still get to practice writing. And I'd say that I do a lot more writing than I did at my old school because it's not all just typing.
Kaylin or Russ, anything you wanted to add there? Russ, go ahead.
Well, I like it because we use the pencils on the iPads a lot, and it's a lot easier than paper because, if you make a mistake, you can just cross it out and it'll be gone. You can redo it. But also for classes that you need to do like a lot of typing for history or something, you can use your computer. And the thing that's good about that as well is because your teachers can see it immediately, and so can your parents. So, and they can like view it as you do it to give you help and stuff. So and they try and balance it out too, so you don't have too much work on one thing at a time. As easy as possible.
All right, Russ, you and I should talk, because if your parents are keeping track of everything you're writing during the day, that we may have to draw some boundaries there. But no, we do, to the point. So on the iPads, and especially in math class, where there is, we do for math instruction to work out problems, and that's kind of a messy process that does naturally involve that writing process, handwriting process. Kaylin, anything else you wanted to add?
Well, I know particularly for me, English is like one of my toughest things I struggle with. So I prefer to write with paper. And Miss Brampton, which is my English teacher, she allows me to write on paper. So if you'd rather do that, it's like an option to do that. But sometimes she might ask you to put it on the computer to submit it, but it's always an option to just write it.
All right, thank you. Okay, I know we have another question about differentiating in class lessons, and I think with our and how do we meet the needs of different levels within the same classroom. In our leveled courses like English and math, where we do have kids with different courses, we do have honors level, we have foundations in math. That some of those are ability based anyway, which kind of narrows the ability range within that given class. But one of the incredible benefits of small class sizes is our teachers are able to, really focus on and conference with and, meet, check in individually and in small groups during the course of a lesson, and know where each kid is at different times, as well as find opportunities as the students were saying, to be able to meet outside of class time. So our teachers do communicate a lot with students about. And again, one of the most important skills we want kids to take away from middle school is that the adults are resources to them. Maybe not parents. I mean, you're going through a period of time where parents are really not as helpful. But in about 10 years, you probably will be really smart again. But we do want them to know that their teachers want to be helpful, are available to them. And so we're going to encourage, push sometimes students to be able to come in and meet one-on-one, so that we can check in and then understand, as Russ said, when I have a question, I know the teacher cares, I know I can find a time to go meet with them and get help. So I want to thank the student panelists. You were great as always, and you can now get back to learning. Thank you for taking this interruption in your educational journey to help us out. Enjoy the rest of the day. So your students and our parent panelists also, you're welcome to click off, and I greatly appreciate your help today.
Thank you.
And now I'm going to send it over to Jennifer Webb, who has already received it.
Thank you very much, Brian. So naturally, after families hear from Brian and John and our families and their students, they are ready to apply or complete that application. I know many of you have already started the process. And for those of you that have started the application and you've already been in touch with Jordy and Justin, who I know will not let you miss a step, and you feel like you have it all down, please know that I'm not offended if you bow out of the meeting. But if you are curious about how to learn more, we'll talk a little bit about some other opportunities upcoming here at Flint Hill, and you'd like to learn more about the admission process, that is what I will be talking about now. In case you joined a little late, I'm the Director of Enrollment Management and Financial Aid here at Flint Hill, Jennifer Webb. And so a little bit about the process first. We really hope that families enjoy the process. We try to make the process as enjoyable as possible and as low stress as possible. It is all about us getting to know each other. Together, we're going to be making a very important decision about the best fit for education for your child. So we want the process to be enjoyable. Hopefully you come to several different events. We'll be in touch quite a bit throughout the admission process. And during the process, we'll keep, as we do at Flint Hill, of course, your child and the mission of Flint Hill in the center of everything that we do together. A little bit more about what the process itself looks like in terms of completing an application. You'll see there is a link to the application on your screen. It is also on every Flint Hill webpage, an apply now button. And once you start that application form, it takes about 15 minutes to complete the actual form and submit it. And that is the best first step. You can attach different materials listed there to the application, but you can also submit just the application form itself. And we do recommend that you do that as soon as possible, because that's what puts you on our radar as an applicant. And then you'll have the opportunity to upload the other required documents, which are listed there. Transcripts, ideally we'd have official ones that are sent from your institution. Recommendations, one from a math teacher, one from an English teacher. You actually put the names and email addresses of the recommenders into the checklist form, and then it will send the recommender a form from Flint Hill to be able to submit. And the checklist is what populates after your application form has been processed. So after you submit that form that takes 15 minutes, that's processed. In your Husky Hub account, it's called, which is our application system, and then later our parent and faculty and staff system, you will have an active checklist that shows you what's missing, what's still required. And so it's in that checklist that you can submit the names and email addresses for the recommenders. There are 2 questionnaires required. One is submitted by you, one is submitted by your student, a graded writing sample, and then the SSAT is optional. So if it's a data point that you think will be important to making your child's application competitive, we certainly welcome that. If your child has had a pretty consistent progression academically, then it may not be a data point that we need. And if you're having a hard time deciding about that, Jordy, Justin, or myself can certainly help you look at the different factors that might be important in making that decision. And finally, a parent and a student interview. Those are done at the same time, but separately. There are options to do that virtually or on campus. So we can meet in either order between parents and students that you prefer. And again, that's just to get to know you better. And that, well, you want to wait until you have some documents in before the interview actually takes place. We do recommend you schedule the interview as soon as you get access to that checklist. Our interview schedule, especially in December and January, fills up very quickly. So we want to make sure that you get a spot before the deadline. The deadline is January 21st. We do recommend that families aim for the end of December to complete the application, just in case there's any obstacles that we need to overcome together. Most of the time, it's smooth sailing, but every once in a while, there'll be difficulty getting a record, or maybe a teacher's out on leave, and we're having to think about alternatives for a recommender. Different things like that can arise. And if you aim to have the application complete by the end of December, then that gives us the opportunity and time to be able to come up with some alternatives if needed, to make sure that your file is absolutely complete, including interview done by January 21st. For those of you that haven't started yet, the admission application is open now. As I mentioned, recommend scheduling the interview right away. The financial aid application is also open on our tuition and financial aid website if you're also applying for financial aid. The application admission deadline, January 21st. Financial aid deadline, January 25th. We also have on our website, there's an important dates webpage that outlines all of this as well. In March 4th is when all of the admission decisions are sent. If you've applied for aid, you'll also receive a financial aid decision at that time. The week of March 7th, we'll have some revisit events, another opportunity for you to learn more about Flint Hill if you still feel like you need more information to make a decision. And then in April, we have a welcome celebration. It's all about celebrating your acceptance and our beautiful new partnership together. And then in May, we start equipping you with the information that you'll need to prepare for the transition. We launched that informational component with a new family information night. And then over the course of this summer, we have some socials to provide you with the opportunity to get to know other new families, to get to know current families before your student starts for the school year. And then, of course, the first couple of weeks of the school year are very intentionally focused on orienting and community building. And of course, that community building is part of our program and continues throughout the year. So what to do next? You're at an admission event. Great. Hopefully, we hope that you've really enjoyed this and that you've learned quite a bit. We do have other events coming up. So on December 1st, we have a middle school and upper school fine arts and innovation event. It's another virtual event where the focus clearly is fine arts and innovation. If you haven't been, I know some of you were at our event a few weeks ago, actually in the middle school building. If you didn't attend that one, or even if you did and you want to attend another one, we have another in-person on campus middle school event in our beautiful new middle school. That is on December 9th. And then on December 14th, we have another virtual event where the theme is curiosity, which is something that is very important to us here at Flint Hill, so much so that we have designed a whole event just about curiosity. So you can go onto our virtual events website. We'll also be sending you an email with links to a lot of the things that I've talked about here for easy access to go ahead and schedule those next steps. Of course, you can schedule a virtual meeting or a phone consultation with Jordy or Justin if you haven't already, or even if you have and you have some more questions and you want to talk again. Those links are on our webpage, flinthill.org/admission team. And if you aren't already following us on social media, that's another great opportunity to see inside of our classrooms, see inside our buildings, see what our students are up to, see what our faculty are up to. So at the bottom of our homepage, there are several different links to our different social media, Facebook, Instagram, Vimeo, YouTube. We've just started a TikTok page, so that'll be coming soon for you, or maybe more likely your students if they engage in that. And so at this point, I am glad to answer any questions that you may have about next steps, about the admission process. So feel free to go ahead and use that chat function and chat them in. Brian and John and Jordy are here too if you have questions about anything else outside of the admission process. We're glad to answer those now too. I'll pause for just a moment to see if we receive anything. Okay. Well, that is a terrific sign. It sounds like we have answered all of your questions. So we will consider this a success because that is exactly what we set out to do. So thank you for helping us accomplish that goal today together. And we will look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much for spending some of your morning with us today. And we will look forward to seeing you on campus, seeing you online, and continuing these great conversations with you. Thank you so very much. Have a great day.
Yeah. Thank you all for joining us. Okay. Look forward to seeing you live at some point down the road.